All right, there we are. Welcome in, Shield Brothers and Shield Maidens, to Shield's Rest. I'm Brown,
And I'm true.
and we were talking for a little bit because it's my first time operating this, so I have to repeat myself, so I apologize. But we today want to talk about first open discussion, if anyone's in the chat to talk with us. We're going to discuss Renaissance festivals, live action roleplay events, things like that, how they can relate to tabletop role playing games, and possibly actually really even enhance the roleplay at the table. So I was just talking about how it's kind of that season for Renaissance festivals, and it depends on where you live, what the schedule is. But True and I have been at least one together, and I've been to several growing up. I always appreciate the effort it takes to put them on, but also the fact that really it feels you can really get your mind into like you're in another place or in another time. So I was thinking about the one that's coming up that we're trying to go to, and I've just been really excited about it. Never done the live action role play part of that, and the most I've ever seen on that is like the jousting and things that they have at those type of events. But I do think that going to those type of events can help with your mind transporting itself into the game, right? So tabletop role playing games, it takes a while to get used to it. If you're a new player, you might understand more what I'm referring to, but it takes a few sessions to really like buy into the tabletop role playing game and break those barriers of comfortability to be able to really role play. Um, so, True, do you have any?
Yeah, no. For me, the Renaissance Fair was kind of really where I figured that was going to be kind of what you were wanting to get into the atmosphere. It's really about that atmosphere, the different events, the entertainment, and all that stuff. Because we forget about some of those entertainment things that would actually be around every now and again, at least within towns and villages and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's definitely something that I like about the Renaissance Fair. The food, even just the simple act of trying to keep like your phone in your bag or kept
In your
away,
hotel?
so that way you
Yeah.
can just what's that?
Keep it in your hotel? Yeah.
Yeah, keep it in your hotel, like just have it away and then you realize just how enjoyable it actually is, especially when you're there with friends, to just be able to be there and be present in the things that are going on and how amazing some of those shows can actually be and some of the events are just by going around and talking to people. And to the live action role play side of that, it's a lot of fun when you don't even have your phone at all and you're just talking with people and how events are actually just sort of happening as you kind of just converse with people and some of the politics that go on, some of the news. Sometimes you hear about whatever happened, in the other town, whatever. It's kind of cool when you get into those moments.
Yeah, I've been watching a couple of videos lately on live action roleplay events because I've never been to one. And it is interesting how you can, really live in that world. Like you were just saying, like there's the town over, but there's actually real life people in the town over that are like at that spot of the festival every time. And so they developed
Yep.
this world and this community. So it's really cool, and I think it's a good experience to at least go to that once and see what it's like. And also looking at going to an actual live action role play event. Definitely still nervous about that, and just the thought of it is like a little bit scary. But I think I've played tabletop RPGs enough and been to Renaissance festivals enough to embrace it and try to stay open to what it can really do to enhance further my ability to role play and like transport myself into that world. So
Yeah, well, I feel like work can do that for you in a small way. Like if you really try to bring in the stupid little things that you deal with at work or the
yeah.
kind of interesting little nuances that happen, we forget about that and what, especially as a GM, what characters would be dealing with. Like maybe especially if they're a part of a bigger guild or something like that, there would be some weird office politics that people would have to, get into a little bit. And we forget about that. And so when you can bring that
Mm.
into your game, just a small amount, nothing crazy, I think that enhances it for even your players when you start having to deal with some of those stupid office politics that sometimes come about. So, yeah, don't forget about your job and how that can actually be fun to bring into the actual game itself.
Yeah, I would take that even a step further and say that real life is kind of like a video game and in a sense a tabletop role playing game. It's like because my job is very like task oriented and that's almost like a quest, It's like you get this one thing that you have to do and then you get to move on to the next one. So I think oftentimes I try to keep my brain in the real world, but sometimes I'm like, oh, this is kind of like not real life in a way, because you're be able to do these tasks to complete this step to move on, and really you're
You
progressing
don't
through
get
your
to kill
job. And
anything.
yeah, and well, yeah, maybe not those kill quests, but the loot drop quest and the talk to this person quest, you know.
And the gathering quest, and that's about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. And then just like, you know, in a game, you're leveling up in real life. You're completing these tasks, you're gaining knowledge, and you're getting better at your job and things like that. So, kind of a stretch there, but it is relatable.
I wish
And
we
that,
actually could legitimately level up. I
yeah,
think that's why I've gotten away from like the level up focused, tabletop RPGs because
yeah,
when have I arrived at being this new level? It's more like you're just gaining XP and you get to pour that into the things
yeah.
that you're good at. But I would love it if all of a sudden you're like, oh, I hit level 2 and how to deal with spreadsheets. Cool, cool,
And
cool.
like
Level
see
2 in
people's level
Excel.
over their head.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I would say that's why I like our Mists of Toldiff campaign. And you know, before we started that, we talked about like what do we want our focus to be, and I was like, you know, we should try just focusing on role playing because our group's pretty good at playing off each other, and I've actually really enjoyed it. It's been one of my favorite campaigns because I'm not thinking about like, oh yeah, I got to get to level 4 to get this new ability so I can do this in combat. Now I'm just playing the game. If I
Yeah.
level up, that's exciting,
Well,
but if not,
it feels more natural that way, I think. And I've
yeah,
always
more
wanted
natural.
it to be that way, but it's not playing the game, or at least not playing the system in the strictest sense, especially with D&D. Like you want to get through your levels because otherwise you're absolutely nothing. But with Daggerheart, it's a little bit different in that aspect. It's not that
Right?
you're totally nothing, but you're not powerful yet, but it doesn't feel like you need to hit those levels in order to have a good time.
Yeah, I'd say I guess it could depend on the system too to make it a little bit easier for role play versus more difficult. If you're playing like a
Oh,
really
I
combat
definitely think
heavy
so.
game, then you're just role playing the
Well,
combat a little bit more. But yeah,
some systems are very much so combat centric, and although that is
that's true.
great, but you have to be able to balance it out with the narrative side.
Mm,
And I think it depends on what kind of GM you are, or what kind of GM you have. Like I know that I'm very much so combat focused from the get go, so I don't
mm,
need a system to be that combat focused because that's where I'm going to be. I
right.
need something that's going to help me from the narrative perspective and help me to help my players get more narratively focused and socially driven rather than the combat side, which I can cover all day long. So,
Yeah.
but I think if you need that combat side and you've got the social down, you got the narrative down, you may want to go with a more combat centric system so that way it evens you out.
Yeah, it's also been like I've noticed playing at our table, right? It's been I don't know what like really 6 years or so, 7 years, but we've
Yeah.
leveled up in a sense of like you can see like if you were watching us play back then versus now, the transition where now it's more like you're mostly the one that was the dungeon master the whole time, but even in that sense, you were like stepped back more and like we're kind of running the session in a sense of like playing off each other in the role play, and then you're just coming in to spice it up or add in things or drive the story. And so that's what makes it feel like a real table, you know, like once people play together long enough, you can see that development and also our life experiences and going to those festivals and things like that. We're independently getting better at the table, and also
Hmm.
dungeon masters having to flex and you know learn with the players. So it is like a team effort. We've talked about leadership and things like that at the table before, but it really is all kind
Yep.
of in one. So
It does come down to that team dynamic and the way that you build that up and the trust that's there, that kind of safety
mm,
that you feel with each other to where you can do that, especially as a GM when you can kind of let go a little bit more and trust that your players aren't going to just try and be like, well, I jumped to the moon, like
yeah,
they're not going to do that. You have to trust that they're not going to do that. But you have those moments where you want to just hold on to that.
mm.
So when you do finally get to let go, it feels good after you get used to that for a second.
That helps your anxiety as a dungeon master, I'm sure too. Like if your players are more involved and are playing off each other more, your job's easier in a sense where you're not like worrying about, oh gosh, what are they gonna say, what are they gonna do, how am I gonna like react to what they're gonna do or say. At least that was my
Yeah.
experience as a DM. I have a lot of anxiety, so I was always worrying about the what ifs. But if they're playing off each other, then there's no what if to be worried about. So
Well, speaking to that, I have realized that I don't plan anything. Like, I don't
yeah,
plan
it's
a
a waste of
story, I
time.
don't plan encounters. All I do is I just let whatever you guys are going to do drive how everything else is going to go. Because really and truly, there are planned
Mm,
events like the wedding, for instance, for Mistletoe. Like there's a wedding that's going to happen, people are
It's
going to
gonna
prepare
happen.
for it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you guys do, they're going to prepare for it. Unless you massacre the entire town and the people getting married, it's still going to happen. Or unless you endeavor to stop it in some way, shape, or form, it's still going to happen. But that's what gives that town a little bit of life while you guys are just kind of operating within that and choosing what you do.
Mm.
I don't really have to think about what you guys are going to do. I'm just thinking about, okay, where's the town at in this moment in time while you're trying to do this stuff. So I
Yeah.
make no plans. I just, insert from time to time to make it a little more interesting when you guys kind of run out of steam.
Yeah, we do have my brother in the chat and also Fry. They're both saying stuff. So my brother says sometimes working to specifically hit that big level feels so good and rewarding. I do agree. It's nice to not have that stress,
Yeah,
though, mixed feelings on it. And Fry said the more you plan, the more your players are going to ruin your plans. Yeah, that's right.
every time.
I used to do like at least like a one. I'm a business major by trade, so all that comes through my personality, which I hate. But whenever I DM'd before, I would always have like a 1 page outline of like the things that I knew were going to happen, kind of like what you're saying.
Yep.
But every time it would be out of order that I thought or not go the way I thought, and so the outline was really just like you're saying, just know what the big things are and weave them in when appropriate.
See, that was the fun part, especially when you guys finally dealt with the werewolf in that. It wasn't that you were ever going to deal with that. It wasn't even a planned thing that was going to happen. It was just it was about that time. It's about that moon, and I've just had that little bit known. And I'm like, well, I
Mm,
guess he'd be out and about during this time. So, um, it's just, you got to understand what's going on around you and plan no events for your players. Let your players plan those events for themselves because they're going to
for
know what
sure.
they want to do. Unless you have a completely new group. If you have a completely new group, run them through an actual campaign book so that way they get an idea for the things that they can do and the things that they maybe won't be able to do in that moment but can plan for later. That's probably the best way to go about it until you get experienced players that can do a little bit more of that free form sandbox sort of situation.
Yeah, we're talking long on the subject. Maybe the last comment I'll make, and then we'll move forward. But I'm
Yeah.
thinking back to the time when I first tried tabletop role playing games, and this is like before I even met you guys. This is like me and my brother and a friend. I don't even remember what year it was, but it had to be like 2012 or something. And we got the beginners box set or whatever it's called, the Storm Peak. I think it's Storm Peak, but whatever the
Okay.
beginner one was, and we got that randomly. We bought it. We're like, we want to play D&D, and we sat down and we started like opening the book and reading through like how to play, and it was the most awkward and uncomfortable thing. None of us wanted to, voice a character or do. So we were like overthinking it in that sense. Where later on, when like someone who knows how to play, like you guys brought me in, and we're like, oh, this is kind of how the game works and everything, it was like, oh, I had that more immediate understanding that kind of broke that initial barrier of like social awkwardness, even with friends that me and my brother, first of all, twins. So we've been together for 20 plus years at that point. And our friend we had known since like high school. So we'd known each other for a decade and we were still uncomfortable to try the game, at first. So there is a big part of it that socialism plays a role.
Yeah, and it's with this kind of thing, it's one of those, you've got to have a little bit of confidence and a little bit of a background, a little bit of understanding going into it.
Mm,
It's not just something that you do off the cuff. It takes a little bit of time. And I think it's a lot like the theater kids would know what we're talking about here. You don't just play a role out of nowhere. You got to get into it a little bit more. So, yeah,
right.
I think those beginner games are great, but you have to also have some form of a background understanding before you just go full head into it if you're not willing to, get vulnerable with people. So,
Yeah. Either way, it's fun, right?
oh yeah, I love it. And even though it took a little bit of time, I am so glad we did take our time and go through all the pitfalls that a group goes through. So
Mm.
yeah, it's been fun.
All right. Sorry, you probably saw me popping that up and trying to get this ready because I forgot to do it beforehand. But we'll move on to just taking a look at what we looked like for this month in April and then what we got planned for May. So for now, this is just kind of like our thing that we keep track of what we're doing. Trying to maintain the DC20 thing on Mondays. We do have a video that we're planning to film tomorrow with me and Fry for Monday. So we've got it all prepared and everything. It was just getting the time to actually schedule that out. So that's a video you'll see tomorrow. But we're hitting everything that we've promised, and we're bringing all the videos when we're wanting to. So just another plug here that we do care. We want to hear comments and know what you're interested in seeing. Obviously, we have our own plans of what we're going to put out, but it's easier to address the audience if they tell you what they want. So I think we're looking good. True, you're doing great on your Friday videos with Daggerheart and all the stuff you've been bringing out. I've seen lots of love on that, and looks like Daggerheart is the the highest searched thing on our channel at least.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. I do like getting a little bit more Daggerheart in. I've been wanting to do more like specific videos like I have been, so that's why you've been seeing more of that, especially for like the adversaries and everything. Mainly because I want to build into what we're going to see in the official rules, because I don't think adversaries are going to be something that change up too much. So I figured this is a
Mm-hmm.
safe thing that we can put out there and at least get the idea going, especially for those who are prepping for the official rules that want to get a little bit more time in with the 1.5 and get kind of like their toes wet, so to speak. So that way, when the official rules hit, there shouldn't be anything too crazy, too jarring for people
Mm-hmm.
when they finally have to switch over. So,
Yeah, I think it's definitely been well received in the community. So I've appreciated it even, and I'm playing with you guys,
oh
so
yeah,
you're kind of running the Daggerheart stuff for us. So I don't have to independently keep up with it myself. I can see what you're putting out and keep up with it that way, which is helpful. Um,
oh yeah,
I will say too that for um, May, we're looking to bring a new series in called Cross Shields. I think we might have
yeah.
mentioned it before, but looks like we're going to be bringing that in on 7th of May. So that'll be the first time you'll see what that looks like. Please give us any feedback on that. We think we did a great job, but obviously we can always improve. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah, with Cross Shields, just to give you a little bit of a teaser into that, the idea is to bring over content from other tabletop RPGs into the ones that currently don't have that much content going on. So, like for DC20 and Daggerheart, those are the ones we are converting into from a lot of these other TTRPGs that do have a ton of content. So we do want to make sure that there's a little bit more of a balance of power. So when you go to play these games, you're going to have enough to work with that you don't feel like you're hindered in any way, shape, or form.
yeah, I think I mentioned it last wrap up and also kind of touch on a similar thing this wrap up, but don't hesitate to try other game systems, right? And that's part of what Cross Shields is hoping to do is bridge that gap. So if you're a full-time, all the time D&D player and you somehow happen to stumble across our channel and you're wondering what is Daggerheart, what is DC20, we're hoping that at a minimum our first couple of videos on Cross Shields will help ease that transition and open your mind to trying other TTRPGs. D&D is great, not trying to push you away from it, but personally
No.
speaking, you're missing out on other things that other systems do, and you don't have to love the other system more or anything like that. But there are some uniqueness in each system that makes them, their own system. So why not appreciate that and try it?
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. I have had this feeling for a while because D&D just didn't fit the bill for me as as an overall system because I'm more a combat focused person, so the D&D combat focus wasn't something necessary for me. But I just didn't have anything else and I didn't know of anything else.
Right.
So that was my biggest problem. But because of that, I finally found eventually the systems that I like, which is Daggerheart, which is Genesis, and I love those systems.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want there to be more content for it. I feel like you should be able to play whatever system you love the most
Mm-hmm.
and shouldn't have to worry about that content because the content's easy to build in if you love the system. So that's kind of the main aim for Cross Shields. And I think our channel overall is not only exposing the different systems that are out there, but also bringing in that content for those systems. So that way you don't feel like you're behind in any way, shape, or form. Like you have to build everything for this. You can just go based off of our videos and insert what you like from that. So yeah, that's what I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm going to enjoy the most about Cross Shields coming into this.
Yeah.
So,
It's been
and
fun
man,
doing this series.
Josh, you are always in
Yeah.
my videos, man. Always commenting. I love it, man. Absolutely love it. So thank you for your support, dude. That is awesome.
I was about to call that out. Make sure you saw it. And also T Dog, thank you as well for commenting. You said it seems like Daggerheart is the most popular behind D&D. Yeah, I think it's a critical role. And I'll say one thing about that is, and from my own perspective, right? If growing up, all I ever knew tabletop role playing games was Dungeons and Dragons. Like that was the game. My brain didn't even think there are other games like that because I didn't really play it or know about it. But when I thought, or heard someone say tabletop role playing games, I was like, oh, they're talking about Dungeons and Dragons. And I think even in these days, people, when you're explaining it to someone, you say Dungeons and Dragons, even if that's not the game you're playing, because it's just the most relatable social setting to say. And I think we might have hit on this before too, but it is
Yeah.
interesting that just using the name keeps that popular. And again, D&D is a great system, but you're missing out if you're not playing other stuff too. Um,
Yeah, no,
Fry
I
said
agree with that.
it's all about finding your niche. D&D
Yep.
teaches you how to tabletop role playing game, then finding the game that specializes your favorite part of playing. I would agree with that. Yeah, D&D, especially
Yeah.
D&D 5e, their whole intent, from what I understood, was to make the game easier to pick up and learn to play. Right. I've never played the previous versions, but I heard they were a lot more complex rule wise and stuff.
Yeah, I played 3.5 and can confirm it was definitely complicated to get into. 5e was like the best gateway drug in the tabletop RPGs out there, I think.
Right.
Because it was so simplistic, but at the same time had enough complicatedness to really suck you in and get you into those videos. I mean, look at how many different channels are just on 5e alone,
Yeah,
talking about the
that's true.
complexities of how you build a character or spells or what your combos and how you multi-class and all this stuff. And they're just crunching the numbers.
Yeah.
Like that is incredible. So it has enough complexity, but it's just missing so much that we have to homebrew half a book of rules just to make it really enjoyable for our
Mm,
table. So
yeah.
that's the only problem.
Hey, I'm not mad at it. Entry level TTRPG is great because it gets people playing.
Hell yeah.
I'll just say one last thing, a couple of other things in May that we're planning. I'm starting a shield check series, is what I'm calling it, for DC20, and this is going to be basically your character overviews or break it. Tell you what is the character, right? What is a barbarian? What are the subclasses for it? And those videos are trying to be 10 minutes or less. And we'll be
Oh
doing
yeah.
that shield check on each class. 10 minutes or less is the plan for now. And then at the end of this month, which we'll get into right after this, we're going to be doing our Shields at Home Gang event sometime during the month, hopefully before the 26th, but having it posted or live streamed or something by that date. So we'll be picking the 3 participants from a wheel here in just a minute. Just want to make sure, True, you want to talk about your Friday videos at all? I know you got some stuff you mentioned before coming out, and they all look pretty good. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I already mentioned the Friday videos because it's all adversaries and then of course the actual play. But then when I get my collector's edition in, then we're going full on into the official
yeah,
rules.
so shifting the
So
schedule down, squeeze that in.
yeah, all those are going to get shifted to the right. Just saying. So yeah, be prepared for that.
Sweet. Josh M, I started with TV and I think 5e offers so much, but I really feel Daggerheart is the game of my future. Very nice.
Hell yeah.
Daggerheart is fun. I especially liked the. I think that there's two things in my mind. Like when Daggerheart started, and when we like, hey, we're gonna play Daggerheart, I was already prepared in my mind to like take whatever any other system and focus on the role play. So for me, Daggerheart is like really good for focusing on the role play, and that just works out because my brain was like prepared to kind of make that shift. And I've always been trying to do it in D&D, but it was just like our table was progressing and stuff. But I think around the time Daggerheart came out, we were all ready to like make that role play focus transition. So I think it's been working out really well.
We were, and we just haven't done enough combat yet, just because the story's not there for the combat yet.
Yeah.
You guys
Combat
just
gets
aren't in a
crazy.
spot to be doing a ton of combat, but the combat is so much fun when we finally like once you get more into it. So I'm
Yeah.
excited when we get into a more regular combat situation. So
Yeah,
eventual, but yeah, I think it's got a lot of potential. So I'm very excited for the official rules, so we can finally switch over to that.
for sure. Yeah, it should be awesome. Okay, so I guess if you're ready, we'll spin the wheel real quick.
Go for it.
I'm losing where it was. Here it is. And I don't have it open, so bear with me because you gotta open the web browser to go to the wheel.
You noob.
I know. Well, let's hope it's the same size and everything it was supposed to be whenever I click this. Of course it wasn't.
Now, T
Just
Dog, to your
technical
particular
difficulties.
point there, I I agree to some extent. I think it depends on the GM you have. So if the GM is already a naturally narrative focused person, it's only going to take it that much further. So Just saying, if you got to find that balance between what you are and what the system is. And if you know you're a role play heavy kind of GM, you're going to want a combat focused sort of game. With Daggerheart, it's very much so narrative focused, and I'm a combat dude, so it kind of keeps it nice and even. But yeah, I would be worried about the overload of role play and not enough combat. But I think it also depends on how you structure those campaigns and structure those nights from time to time, and add in something fun every now and again for a random encounter.
Yeah, I think for Daggerheart too, like the thing I commented on before that I really like was the experiences. I think they help enable that role play and unlock it a little further. Because if you've got someone
Yes.
that's like uncomfortable or usually doesn't know how to just make stuff up, they'll have the experience to rely on to be like, oh, my character's good at this. So it connects the dots of like the role play scenario. But I do agree it could potentially overload that, but really it's the flow of the table and what you naturally mesh into.
And agree for
Okay.
sure.
So I'll spin the wheel here. We've got
Get it
looks
that
like
wheel.
five total people with a chance, right? So I guess the way I'll do this is spin it and remove the name that wins each time. So here's the first one. All right,
Who we
at
got?
Neat Zebra
Yo.
5. Congratulations. We'll
Neat
send you a
Zebra 5.
message.
Hell yeah.
Take his name off and spin again. I see T Dog's in here, so oh, look at that. Spoke
I
it
thought
into
you removed him.
existence. Yeah. Congratulations, T Dog, you're in. We'll send you a
Yeah,
message with some
man. Look at
details on the
that.
rules and everything. And third one. This is a
Looking forward to beating
33%
you up.
chance. Looks like it's going to Chris Joyner.
Oh, what up?
So there you go. That's our 3. For the other 2,
That's awesome.
apologize. I'll send you a message just to notify you and let you know. See if we can't work something else out as well. But thank you everyone for entering to participate in that. I'm excited about it.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
kind of leading it, so if it seems kind of scuff along the way, just let me know and we'll fix it. But I think I've got a good plan for it, so in my mind, it's going to work out perfectly. You had great odds, yes, you did.
Yeah, you did.
And that's a fellow DC20 or so. It's good to see you in there. Congratulations.
Awesome. That's gonna be fun. I'm excited for that because I've been wanting to use these Marvel heroes for a while now. So
Yeah, we'll have to see how it actually works. So I'll send details to everyone
yeah,
that won to let them know kind of what I'm thinking. Just for everyone's awareness, I'm thinking we might have to film at least 2 separate instances of stuff, just because one for the pick and choose and stuff, and then give me a little bit of time to define them, make sure they're all lined up and correct for what heroes might be getting played, and then filming the day of. So that's how the flow will go. But you'll see that all in one video at the end of May is my plan. So
love that.
that's it for the wrap up and the look ahead. Unless True has any last comments, but appreciate everyone in here watching live and commenting. Love to see that. Appreciate the support for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely love the support, guys. Thanks for stopping by.
Yep. Cool. Well, we'll end it there. Until next time, keep that shield